Yeah, I think the film. I think the film will probably date poorly because of it. But I think viewing it at its time, at its release, that's why it works so well for me. It's interesting. I was just googling the actor that played the boy at the start, Kelvin Harrison Jr. He's been pretty prolific over the last couple of years. It looks like his breakthrough was in 2018. He's been in a lot since. He won a lot of awards, regional awards off the back of this. I thought he was the standout performance in it personally. I thought his acting was excellent. Nothing was overacted at all. I thought they were all great, but I think he was the standout for me personally.
Yeah, I think they're
both. I'm curious to know why you think that the film won't date very well. Like, what about the issues being explored in this film, or some of the background issues, let's say, won't be experienced by someone in, say, 10, 15, 20 years time?
Because social media changes quickly.
Yeah, it's the way it was filmed, Liam. So like the emphasis on text, iPhone messaging in like the key scenes. Like anytime you watch a movie now where you can date film by the cell phone, that's like the easiest way to date a movie these days, because technology moves so quickly. And I think like the soundtrack is very of the time, like the big like arty scene in front of the bonfire with him rapping Kendrick Lamar. Like I think like it's not a slight on the film at all. It's just because it's so heavily of the time, and there's an emphasis on the current social media, current mobiles, key points, current soundtracks, everything like that. I think it will date it. It will be pinpointed to this time, like the Oxycontin theme, which is an underlying thing. It will pass in the States. It's very much a phenomenon at the moment. Some of the
being dated isn't necessarily to its detriment.
Yeah, it's not. But you will watch it, and it won't be, I don't think, as I guess relatable. It will still be as impactful, because I think the acting and the way it was shot, and there's kind of common themes in there. There's always going to be that teenage angst. Like those themes will remain. But I do think it will date it. I don't think it will be as. I don't think I would rate it as highly watching it in 10 years as I do now. Potentially also because of like the age differential. I think with the same age as the main actor, that sort of thing, it's not going to impact the way I rate it now. But I do think it would have a different view of it in 10 years. Just because sometimes, like when you watch films now, you kind of look back on some of the tech and cringe. It's not a bad thing. It's just they were shot for the moment.
Yeah. It falls into this wave, this wave of new black film that is coming out now as well. Sort of over the past 5 years or so, there's just a sudden onslaught of new, a lot of it amazing, stunning cinema as well. Like Beale Street Could Talk, Last Tree, Last Black Man in San Francisco, Moonlight, films like these. Yeah, they're all. Eventually the category's going to start to bulk up, and then it's going to be what are those small things that differentiate the films from becoming timeless or becoming dated, and it will be small things like what you just mentioned there, Tom and Jem, that will date it slightly. Not like you say, not to its detriment, but just as it bloats, as the category bloats more.
There are other really timeless films from like back in the 70s and 80s that again really dated at the same time, which is obviously is a bit of an oxymoron. It doesn't really make much sense, but that there are such strong like themes of like about regarding the human condition or family or whatever it is that kind of like holds the film down to a particular era or a particular year. They're kind of only charming, I suppose. Like they only add a charm to it, and like everything else makes it really rather timeless.
I get what you.
Home Alone or something
I think
like
it is the combination of. It's the combination of being a teenager or a young person and having that type of social media at your hands is quite a narrow window. Because you can watch that as a 40-year-old now and be slightly out of touch with it, or you could watch it, or someone maybe too young could watch it later on type thing. So I think it's a fairly narrow range to be able to really relate with it. But as you say, the family themes, they'll be time.
I get what you mean, Liam. I don't think this will be like a seminal movie breakthrough on a particular theme. I think Moonlight, we've mentioned, I think will be remembered more than this because it it was a seminal movie about a particular social issue, and one of the first of its kind, particularly, I guess, from Black cinema as well. And that obviously won the Oscar, and there was a brilliant film. I actually prefer this to Moonlight, but I don't think that this will be regarded in the same esteem. If that makes sense. Like, I do get what you're saying.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
80s and 70s films that are dated, but they're kind of timeless. But I don't think that this will fall into that category. I think, as I said, I think some of the impact is about it now, and I don't think this is the first film to explore some of these films or have a similar kind of structure. I think films like Moonlight will be remembered like that, in that ilk, but potentially not this.
Just that it does do it really well.
I enjoyed this more.
Yeah,
So,
it's just that it does do it really well. It might not be groundbreaking, but what it does it really well.
yeah.
It could also be down to just like sheer like how publicized it's been. Like you said about the start, Tom, like it really didn't travel, and it could be many different variables. It could have even down to COVID or something like that. Like, there could be many different reasons as to why it's never gone that further step beyond. And it's just things like that might hold it back, but yeah, on the
How many
whole,
people do you reckon voted on it on IMDb?
how many people? I don't know.
What's his IMDb score?
No, you don't want to know that yet. You don't want to know that yet.
Yeah, okay, actually, yeah. Don't tell me yet.
Yeah.
Like, how many do you think voted on it? Like, what would you kind of guess if like Moonlight was like 100,000 or whatever?
Like a fraction,
5.
11,000, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it was literally like 11,000,
Is it?
something like that. There's as many people voted on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nothing, is it?
It's
It's nothing.
Film.
It's nothing.
I think it's only his second film, or like one of his very few. But his first film, I think, would be a good watch as well, because I looked at that and that won loads of awards. I think that was nominated 24 times across different film awards, and it won 19 or something. His other film, which came out a few years previous, but he's clearly a director with. Sorry.
There's been contrast between his work in terms of this one and his first one in 2015 or whatever, talking about the fact that he was almost scrutinized for not using BAME characters enough, and now he's sort of done the complete flip, which is really interesting, and it's brave, experimental, but if you pull it off, it works, because he's white as well.
Yeah, I found.
He made It Comes at Night. Did anyone watch that film? I'd heard of it doing the round when it came out, but I had no idea that he would have made something like this.
The what?
It
Sorry?
Comes at Night.
It Comes at
It's
Night.
like a horror film from 2017 with Joel Edgerton. Quite big budget, like large scale.
I think I watched a trailer for that. Yeah.
They've all got to do a horror at some point in their careers, haven't they? Get them out of the way early.
If you're working for A24, it's in the contract.
Yeah, mate. A24 do just the best fucking distributor in the world, man. So
What do we think of the in between a sex scene? Just profusely apologising.
I quite like. I mean, that whole second story.
It brought his character to life a bit.
That whole second story was a lot more tender, and it sort of it fitted in there quite nicely. He was a bit like white bread, but some soggy white bread. But Lucas Hedges is an incredible actor, though. So I love everything that he's in. Does anyone have anything that they specifically didn't like? Then to point out, just anything in particular that we haven't covered already before we rate it.
You think it's rewatchable?
Once more, yeah. Maybe not constantly, but I could watch it again. I've already said to Brooke we need to watch it, but maybe
I'd watch it again to watch it with someone else. I'm not sure I would sit down on my own and watch it again.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about whether I'd buy it on Blu-ray, which is pretty much the same question, because I only buy Blu-rays if the film is rewatchable. And I was thinking, I probably would, but it's not like the easiest decision considering how much I bloody loved it. So yeah, perhaps not more than once or twice more, to be fair, because I think I've got so much out of it already.
I think
that's my point. The reason I asked the question is because it's exactly that point, Liam. I feel like I've had my my moment with the film. Like I don't have any desire. I feel very complete with having watched it and had that experience with it. I don't feel like I'd watch it again. But I don't know whether that's a negative. Just a point that I wanted to raise, that I personally don't think it has much rewatchability for me.
Yeah.
I think I could probably give it another go, just because there was nothing in the film where it was like a shock or a plot twist whereby it would be hard to watch again because you know exactly what's coming. But yeah, I thought it was interesting enough just aesthetically, as Jem kind of covered earlier, to I think keep me interested to watch it again. Not immediately, but down the road, I think it would definitely be worth another viewing, just from a visual experience.
One of the reasons it gives you so much to think about is because it's not really that complicated at all. It's all struggles that every family goes through to some degree, obviously not to that extent, and everybody's human, and it's all human emotions that people are familiar with, and that's precisely what you take from the film. It's not this complicated mess which you have to sort of work out, and I think that's sometimes the benefit of watching a film again is when you have a better idea to be able to work things out, and there's nothing to work out more in this film, if you see what I mean. It's laid out on the plate for you to take, which is brilliant, and why it works.
I think we've said enough. Who wants to go first in rating it? Tom, your pick.
I've flitted around with it. It's how high I want to go, really. I think I won't be the highest score, having listened to some of other people's feedback, but I would still give it an 8.4. I've thought about that one a little bit. I started off lower, having immediately finished it, actually, which was surprising. And then over time, I was looking back on the film. I evaluated it, and I thought
When did you watch it? When did you watch the film for the first time, Tom? Oh, when did you watch it?
I finished it today as well. I really love the bit on her bike. I haven't mentioned it last thing because I don't want to talk so much more about it. We've spent ages, but I really love the final scene of her on the bike and the music. I just loved it aesthetically. That was such a pleasing ending to it, and it was quite like a nice happy ending as well, which not to be cliched, but yeah. Anyway, 8.4.
Yeah, she found peace at the end. Jem.
Again, every week I say, would I recommend it? And absolutely, I would recommend this. I don't think it has obviously if someone's after an action film, it's probably not something I'd recommend, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, regardless of what category their film they're after. I think it would appeal to anyone with any interest in film. Realistically, it's not gonna turn off anyone that I can imagine. I'm just thinking of someone who's younger than us, all the way up to an elderly person. I can't see anyone watching that film and not enjoying it. So I would fully recommend it. Agree with pretty much everything that's been said. I don't have anything to add to it, or I don't think it did anything wrong. That doesn't mean it's a perfect film, but I certainly don't think it did anything wrong at all. I would give it a 8.1.